I'm Daniel, and I'm a Cubs fan.
And I'm Andy, and I'm a Sox fan.
And this is a podcast divided after
the intro.
Your Daily Cubs White Sox podcast, the best place for all the baseball debate you need.
Welcome back to a podcast divided, where today we are going to talk about, is Bellinger the solution to the Cubs, or is he another dud? And also new moves update for the Cubs and the White Sox, which there isn't much for the White Sox, so we'll just get that out of the way. There's not much. Cease is staying. That's basically it. Okay, Daniel, on to Bellinger.
That's around the MLB, by the way. But first, the main topic for today, is Cody Bellinger still the right option for the Cubs? And this got me thinking when I was actually listening to Locked on Cubs, and it got me a look at some stats that I should have looked at before wanting Bellinger so much. And the results were crazy. Like, I don't know why. Well, I do know why. Bellinger was overhyped. You have a good year in the MLB, and then you hit free agency. You make money. And that's why he hasn't signed yet, because he wants a lot of money. And he's the guy who, before last year, was the worst player in the MLB for 2 years. And then before that, he was an MVP. Like, it's crazy to think that he wants, like, close to $200 million. And so I actually pulled up some stats, and then we're going to both say our take on who the Cubs should get, because the Cubs are at a stage where they got a bullpen arm that's going to be good, a starter that's going to be good. Both aren't stars, but both will be solid contributors, so we don't need any more pitching, although it would be nice to have some more. And you think about the guy who's also actually with Scott Boras as his agent, Matt Chapman. And I don't know how much you trust Fangraphs, but I will say that there's a good chance that Cody Bellinger's WAR next year will be under 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last year it was 4.7-ish. Yeah, it was 4.1 actually. And Matt Chapman's was 3.5. And you think why? Matt Chapman hit 240. Bellinger hit 307. Well, it's all about value you bring. And the Cubs are a defensive team. I said this on the last episode with Jacob. And you look at the level that Bellinger will hit next year, it's probably not that high. If you think about the level he'll hit compared to Chapman, you can expect probably 10 to 20 points of a difference. And if you think about that with the defense, Chapman on a really short deal makes a lot more sense, because number one, you're not locked up with a guy who might not be good for the whole contract. So it makes you really flexible. And number two, Chapman actually brings a lot for cheaper AAV. So not only is the length more team friendly, the contract's more team friendly, so we can sign someone else, like a Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, I could see Matt Chapman being a Cub. I don't know if he'll be better than Bellinger. Honestly, I think these two individuals.
I'm not saying that.
I know, but we're talking about Bellinger. This is a Cubs and Sox podcast. And what I'm saying, Bellinger compared to Chapman, I think they both are iffy players that can either both have bad seasons or good seasons. Either or. You can't really. It's just playing a giant guessing game with predicting how these two are going to be. That's my take.
Yeah, but don't you agree that you'd rather have Montgomery and Chapman than Bellinger?
Jordan, I would say so.
I mean, Bellinger, if you look at Chapman's, I'm trying to find his per year stats, but you look at Matt Chapman, and he is the type of guy who will provide defense. And I don't know if you're a fan of that, but he is the type.
I love defense in baseball. I think it's so important.
That's what Jed's building the Cubs around. You think about Swanson. I don't know if you realize, Swanson is a very good defensive player. So I know his bat was bad, and then he actually choked at the end of the year and had his worst stretch when the Cubs needed him at his best. But we are building around these types of players who are better in the field. And you think about stat wise too, if Bellinger is 15 points up with an average next year, then would you really prefer Bellinger over Chapman for the price? I mean, obviously Bellinger is a better player hitting wise. I think that's a fact. Although
Yeah.
Chapman has never had a year. Well, actually, he's had a couple of years when he was under 210. But besides that, he's been 230 to 250 and 1 year at 278 in his career. He's been consistently at that level. Bellinger's been the worst player in baseball some years, and some years he's been the best. That's what makes this so hard because
I
think
know.
about what Boris says, you know?
Bellinger is much more of a risk reward type of situation. Like with Bellinger, you're either going to get super bad or super good. But with Chapman, you're either just going to get bad or good.
Well, I mean, like it's so funny because like with Bellinger's situation, and you think about Chapman and Montgomery, all three of those guys, and Snell too, they're all agented, however you want to say that, by
Free agents.
Boris, Scott Boris.
Oh yeah, understood.
So represented is the right word.
Yes.
So in other words, Boris can actually leverage the Cubs with Bellinger and Chapman, and does he tell Chapman and Bellinger about the other guy? Because you think about like how he's controlling the market, like how does that even work for him? Like, does he like focus on getting one of them signed because one will sign for more? But then why would Chapman hire him if he knows that? Like, I don't know. Like, it's like this whole thing. Like, you think about what the Cubs are saying versus Boris in the Bellinger negotiations. Boris is like, he was the MVP in 2019. He was a very solid All-Star last year. He wasn't even an All-Star, but scratch that. But he was a good player. He had a really good season last year. He helped your team a lot. And then you think what the Cubs say. He was the worst player in baseball for the 2 years before last year. How do we know that he'll do that again for the next 10 years especially, or 5 even? But Boris says, well, and you think about, like, Boris can't really prove it the case. Like, yes.
No, nobody can. That's the thing. Only Bellinger can when he's on the field playing.
Exactly. That's what makes this so hard because what's the right move? And you think about is the title of this, is Cody Bellinger still the right option for the Cubs? I don't think we can really get a complete answer to that. I just think we can look to players who are more consistent if we want a more for sure, like we know if we want to know that we'll be good, we should get more consistent players. But you think about what Bellinger did last year. We just signed them and we're like, let's see what happens. I mean, you never know, but like, I do see the reason why you would argue for Chapman and then one other signing, but because I know we've said this a billion times, but Hayward's contract could be the contract similar to Bellinger's contract, where like the Cubs have to pay him. And like it's like, do you want to really be doing that? Like, do you really want to be like stuck to this guy and have him be playing him? Yeah, fans like him. He's like on the team. Yeah. But like, I want consistency. I want results. I want team friendliness. If he's blocking up the prospects and we have to play him when he's 38 and he's hitting 200, and we have to pay him because he's play him and pay him because he's earned $220 million this year. Like, come on.
I'm going to throw a curveball at you. So we all know that the Cubs have a decent amount of depth. But think about it this way. They don't have a star on the team. Bellinger could be that star. So would you rather go for a star or would you rather go for two depth pieces like Chapman and Montgomery? Think about it that way.
I mean, the star thing I kind of see, but will he really be a star if he hits 210 next year?
No, but he would be if he hits 330 with 40 home runs, which, he's proven to do in his.
That's like what we're saying. Like, oh no. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen with him.
I mean, Hoyer is on the hot seat for sure. No matter what he does, nothing will prove him right until the end of the season. Maybe not even that.
Yeah, because you think about like this division, which we're going to talk in the short second segment about. like the moves that have been going on for the Cubs and Sox, like in their divisions and around MLB, like a lot of like like there are a lot of guys on the board. Don't get me wrong, but you mentioned stars. Stars are all gone almost. Like Bellinger's the last star. But you do think about like leaders. Hector Neris is like one of the biggest leaders. I've been reading a little bit about him. Like he is like a leader in that clubhouse. But would you argue that you want a position? You don't want a bullpen reliever as your leader?
I mean, of course, I want a bullpen leader, but he can just lead the bullpen, maybe the pitching staff, and as a whole. But I need a position player to be a leader of my position players.
But this stuff just makes me so angry with Jed because like you want to spend money, but you say that the contracts that you can afford are too much. And then you're stuck in a situation where you really have to make an offensive move, and the main guy out there is Bellinger, and it might not be the right move. Like, this money would have been so better spent. It could have been better spent. It should have been better spent. Like, I don't like this strategy of, like, let's get some bargains. It's like it's bound to fail it. Or if it succeeds, it'll be a fringe success. Like last year, we were one game out of the playoffs. Like, you never know. We might win 90 games next year. We also might win 70. Like, I hate being in this spot as a fan because I know that this offseason had a lot of guys who Hoyer could have signed because the Cubs are a team with a lot of money, you know?
Yeah, they're a big market. I can't deny that.
But we're acting like the smallest market. Like, we're acting like if the Rays maybe a tiny bit better than a really small market team.
The Rays, even though they don't sign anybody, they're still strategic with what they do. Like the GM is a genius. He works with what he has perfectly.
Yeah, like it just makes really to me like no sense that like Jed thinks that he can put. I mean, like it's a strategy that he's sticking by, and the Neris signing is very like undervalued in my opinion. I think it's a very big one, but I will have to say though, Andy, can you take this over for the next couple minutes?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I can talk about the Cubs and how bad they are. So basically what the Cubs did this offseason from the eyes of a Sox fan or just a spectator is they skipped out on Shohei. They skipped out on all these big name players that they could have gotten. And they, just like Daniel said, they went for bargains. And we all know that obviously you can't build a team off of big time free agents. Like you can't just go sign everybody on the whole free agent market and expect them to actually win a World Series. I know that might sound good in like MLB The Show terms, but we've seen the Mets do it in real life, and look at what they've done. The Cubs had an opportunity to balance homegrown talent and free agents, but this offseason, I feel like, and Daniel also feels like they've failed to do so because they had so many options to choose from. Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, even Corbin Burns, who just got dealt to the Orioles, which is huge for them. And it might also impact the Cubs because now that Burns is gone, the Brewers will be an easier opponent. But I don't feel like the Brewers can hold any kind of division win. I don't think they're going to win the division this year. I think it's going to be either the Reds or the Cardinals, in my opinion. Not just saying that as a biased Sox fan, but just saying that as someone who thinks that just a baseball fan, someone who thinks that the Reds and the Cardinals can really show themselves who they can, or show us who they can possibly be. And the Cardinals, obviously, they had a horrible season last season, but I think that they can rebound with their sneaky free agent signings like Sonny Gray. And the Reds, they didn't do much in the offseason, but again, they have a lot of homegrown talent that are actually like super talented. Ellie De La Cruz, Matt McClain, all these awesome players. The Spencer Steer, I can go on. They have all these great players. So I think that the dots will be connected for teams like the Cardinals and the Reds. And the Cubs, it's just one big question mark, just like the White Sox. But I think people are already voting them down, and I think that that's something that I should do too, just because I don't know. This team has been awful the past year. It's been mediocre at best for the past 2 years. So
and I'm back. For the last couple minutes, but because I gotta go. I would like to say that Corbin Burns signing makes me very happy because it's really showing how much the Brewers are not trying. And like I know they signed Hoskins, but then so they make no sense to me. So it makes me very very happy about the Cubs odds for this division because the division is trash. But the Cubs also have the whole division could be better or it could be worse. Like there's a path where the division winner wins 78 games.
yeah,
That's
honestly,
sad.
yeah.
Like how is that even like possible? Like I've heard some stuff about the Pirates, like I was telling you. Like some people like them a lot more than others. I'm not sure. They were too bad last year. Maybe after next year, I feel like it might take a little bit to get those young guys fully up. And then you think about like the Reds, they got Candelaria, but they are not making enough moves to be like really good either. So they're gonna be like the Cubs next year, like maybe good, maybe bad. Cardinals have been signing pitchers, but do they have enough to contend after being bad last year? I'm not sure. I think maybe like not more than 80 games, in my opinion. Brewers also like the whole division's kind of iffy, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I'd say that.
I think the division's going to be Cardinals, Reds, Cubs, Brewers, and then Pirates.
I think it's gonna be Cubs, Brewers, Reds, Pirates, Cardinals. I feel like
you
the
really
Pirates
have no faith in your rival. Okay, how non-biased of you.
You know, maybe it's somewhere in between.
Okay.
The White Sox logo, yeah.
You know, I think it's actually gonna be the Cardinals, Brewers, Reds, Pirates, and then the Cubs at -2 and 164.
Okay, well.
You know, I don't even know if he clicked that accidentally or on purpose. I could not tell you.
Thank you guys for watching this episode of A Podcast Divided, episode 30. And we're going to be back with some more soon. Hopefully there are some more moves soon. Andy, you got anything else to say?
Go Chiquitas.
Yes, sir. Go Chiquitas tonight. Until next time, see you later. Go Cubs.
Hey, Frosty, go White Sox.
Go Cubs.